In Midsummer Night's Dream, the fairies get the last word. There are three different kind of worlds coexisting in this play. The fairies are where we leave. They seem to be aware of the other two. We're not aware of them, so they seem to have the kind of dramatic power here. And they get to end speaking to us. Puck ends addressing the audience. I'm going to go to the second to last speech, right before Puck's kind of epilogue. And Oberon, King of Shadows, gives some commands in rhyme, though not in pentameter. Now until the break of day, through this house each fairy stray. To the best bride bed will we, which by us shall blessed be, and the issue there create ever shall be fortunate. Isn't that great? The issue there created, ever shall be fortunate. Good news. All the babies conceived in these married couples' beds are going to be fortunate. Thank you, Oberon. Thank you. But wait. So shall all the couples three ever true and loving be, and the blots of nature's hand shall not in their issue stand. Never mole, hair lip, nor scar, nor mark prodigious such as our despised nativity shall upon their children be. With this field do consecrate, every fairy take his gate, and every several chamber blessed through this palace with sweet peace, and the owner of it blessed ever shall in safety rest. Trip away, make no stay, meet me all by break of day. Oberon out. Okay, we're going to do a blessing of the bridal bed through these supernatural powers. Let me say a few things about this. First, one of the things that this is doing is evoking an old English ritual, which was originally Catholic, but it became a kind of folk ritual of blessing bridal beds to bless, to make them happy. This has now been officially abolished in kind of Elizabeth I Protestant England. But Shakespeare tends to have a nostalgia, if not for the old religion, and not necessarily for the old religion, for old customs that from the generation before his and the generation before that, things he might have seen the tail end of growing up. He traffics in this kind of English rural nostalgia every now and then for his hip, up-to-date metropolitan audience. So there's a kind of reference to an old form of ritual that's gone away, and here the fairies are as English as all get out. Though, of course, here they're not Christian religious figures. Oh, no. Oberon is not a Christian religious figure by any means, and he doesn't operate by the Christian belief system even a little bit. That's great. Now, and some of this is about fairy beliefs, like, oh, we're going to make sure that the babies don't have hair lips or birthmarks or weird things on their, like, we don't want them to have any kind of physical deformity. We're going to bless that away. There's the blessing will say that all these three couples will be true in marriage, which would be great, especially considering not all three of these couples look like great contenders for long-term fidelity. I mean, Demetrius is a condemned offender already. What is keeping Demetrius faithful to his wife? Fairy juice. Fairy juice. He's in love with fairy juice. Actually, Lysander is now also in love because of fairy juice. Fairy juice here is apparently more reliable than actual men. How do you trust your husband? Like in this play, they should be drugged. That's the way to keep a man faithful. Theseus himself isn't maybe our best role model for fidelity to women over the course of his long and storied career. I want to bring up one other thing. So, two of these three couples are fictional creations of Shakespeare's, and one is traditional. One's from the classics, ancient Greek, like Theseus and Hippolyta are from stories that Shakespeare inherited, so we actually know what becomes of their children. Oberon blesses these beds, so all the children begotten in these beds inside these marriages will forever be fortunate. That's great. That's wonderful. Good news for, the young lovers aren't going to have kids because the only play they're in is over, and they only exist in this play, so they're never going to have kids. Theseus and Hippolyta exist in other stories. I wonder what happens to their kid. Maybe our friend Edith Hamilton might might help me out. Let me look here at Theseus. I'm going to go into this chapter. This is not good at all. Wait a second. I gotta... What? Maybe the ancient Greek tragedian Euripides will help me out. It's a play. Here's an entire play about Hippolyta and Theseus' son Hippolytus. And Hippolytus is... and his father prays for his death and gets it. It's terrible. You can also find it... Fairies did not bless that. You can also find it in Shakespeare's favorite tragic playwright, Seneca, the Roman playwright Seneca, the tragic playwright he would have read it, whatever he did read in school. Also Hippolytus, familiar to schoolboys. Let me point out, Oberon's little allusion to the fruit of Theseus and Hippolytus' bed is for people who had the equivalent of a high school education at this time, and very few did, but a lot of them were, but people with that education were in the audience, they would know that actually Theseus and Hippolytus' child is cursed, is mistreated, is wrongly accused by his father of trying to steal his father's younger second wife. And then Theseus prays for his son Hippolytus' death to the god Poseidon. Poseidon sends a sea monster. Bad parenting. Actually, in ancient Greek tragedy, that's kind of median bad parenting. It gets kind of baroque at some points. It's a curse. Here's the thing. Shakespeare will do allusions with an A-L-L-U-S-I-O-N to famous classical stories, and he kind of expects his audience to know a little bit about those stories. He will often allude to a story that is inappropriate, that is ominous, that is scary, that hits a dramatic note totally different from the one that's obviously being played out in the story on the surface. Look for him to do this too. He can slip it by you. He slipped it by me for years, and then one day I was, wait. Those people have a baby. And man, it's not good. So our takeaway for this, Shakespeare knows his very basic classics, or the very basic classics for his day, and he tends to be sneaky about them. So let's keep a watch on Will.